Now, in this session, we're going to talk about guidelines for setting limits, otherwise known as boundaries. Now, remember, this is not a wall of self-protection. Think of it like a basketball court, or as basketball. You have the court and you have the out of bounds. And if you're in control of the ball and you are making the best choice for you and your relationship on the team, you're staying within the boundaries of that court. If you choose to cross those boundaries, there are consequences involved. Well, that's the same way with life. We need to learn to set limits and boundaries. And if we choose to cross those or we allow others to cross those, there will be natural consequences in our life. One of the first guidelines to setting limits is taking care of yourself. You need to do whatever you need to be sure that you are receiving God's love and value from Him. This is so important because the more you see yourself and you learn your value, the way He values you, the stronger you're going to be at setting healthy boundaries within relationships. You know, for some reason, people think when you talk about taking care of yourself, that means you need to be selfish in the things that you do and say. That is far from accurate. Now, there are those people who use boundaries to be independent or to withhold their lives from others. They instead of using that to have healthy relationships. But if you want to be loving and you want to be unselfish in your relationships, you'll learn to invest in learning about what God's given you as a person in the areas of your mental, your physical, your spiritual, and your emotional health, as well as strengths, talents, resources, finances, even your other relationships, your education, all of those things. You'll learn to invest in those and how to make those flourish. You know, as you share your life with others, you'll be doing what you need to do to protect yourself and your health, as well as the health of those you're in relationship with. And so they're not threatened. One of the ways to sustain yourself is to realize the only people you want to connect yourself with are those who respect the value of your life as well as the value of their own life. The only relationships, only then, will relationships be based upon mutual respect and even a shared fruitfulness out of the fruit of the Spirit that God has given us and we allow to manifest, then we are able to share that fruit with others. Now, there are people that you need to set boundaries with, and these are the people who recognize your value, but they want to relate to you as consumers. You know, this kind of looks like someone that sees the value of your life, that is attracted to that value, maybe attracted to the things that you have to offer, but they aren't offering much of themselves. It's kind of a one-way street. That's what a consumer looks like. Now, we all have different experiences about being taken advantage of by consumers. But what really matters in those situations and when we are taken advantage of is how do we respond? Will we forgive that offense and become the powerful person that we were created to be and to share our resources more effectively with others out of that situation? Or will we agree with that disrespect that was shown us and take on a victim mentality and go into the blame game and allow people to continue to devalue our lives while they take full advantage of us? You know, in our closest relationships, sometimes we have people within those inner circles that of our intimacy who start acting like consumers. What do we do with that? Whether it's our spouse, our kids, our close friends, what do we do with that? Well, we have to learn how to set limits with even the people that are closest in our life and in our closest circles of intimacy. the closer the relationship is in that circle to our God spot, the greater the chance they have of taking over that God spot. And even there are people that will try to make us fit into that God spot. And it's important that we recognize and we learn that, and that we are careful to not let that happen. You know, it can be one of the most difficult things in the world to set healthy boundaries and limits with people that are closest to us and people in that circle of intimacy, whether they're breaking your heart with the choices they're making or whatever is going on in that relationship. If the person is consuming too much for you to stay healthy, you need to limit the access the person has to your life, still with keeping your love on towards them and loving them the way Christ loves them. You know, sometimes we think, well, how do we do that? You know, as the saying goes, the best defense is a good offense. A good plan of offense is making sure that your focus is fixed on cultivating yourself, taking care of yourself, and then directing the bulk of the resources that comes out of that relationship with God and taking care of yourself towards mutually beneficial and healthy relationships. When we set good limits, we tell people in our lives, I love you, I really do, but I can't give you what you're asking for at this moment because of the priorities that I've set. When you start telling people what you're going to do and the choices that you made and what you're not going to do, and you follow through with that, people come to believe what you're going to say. People see that as healthy boundaries and guidelines and limits in their relationship, and they're confident in their relationship with you. One of the things that happened when we had the sin problem, Jesus came and he created a safe place for us, the safest place in the world for us to be loved, known, accepted, and forgiven. But he gives us one big requirement. If we want to live and flourish in that safe place in a relationship with him. And this requirement is found in John 15, verse 12. And it said, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." Now, this isn't something he just tells us to do and expects us to do it. He came to live on the inside of us, to empower us to walk out that commandment. Just like 1 Thessalonians 4:9 says, he teaches us to love others. It is an empowerment from within. It's not something that we have to do on a list, but we are empowered and equipped to love others. Now, a sign that you're in a healthy relationship or in relationship with Jesus is the fruit being produced in your life from abiding in him. One of the fruits of the Spirit talked about in Galatians 5 is love. You know, our spiritual calling is nothing less than to love and be loved by God and people. Our spiritual growth and training can only occur in the context of a relationship. In a relationship, the only thing that you can control is your free choice to love others and to receive their love. When that happens, you're in a healthy relationship. We really hope that this series has been a blessing to you, as well as the book, and you've been able to take some of these tools and these practices and implement them in your everyday life. In closing, I want to read for you an excerpt out of the book and just charge you with this. It says, "It's time for the world to see a church who can keep her love on. It's time for the sons and daughters of God to mature into a company of powerful people who know how to walk in freedom, practice intimacy and vulnerability, clean up our messes, and invite people around us to become powerful, free lovers of Jesus. It's time for those who bear the name of Jesus to become famous for carrying his huge heart, that absolutely fearless heart of love that pursues connection with broken sinners. This is how the world will know we know him.